every Tuesday. Those of you that are even still, trying to get on in different avenues, but God is faithful. We want to acknowledge Pastor Nancy Brown from Prevailing Faith Ministries that are watching tonight live. And so they're doing a couple of test runs before we open up the service, so we don't have to do, it's open, okay, it's open. So we thank God for them tonight. Somebody put your hands together on them. That we are preparing for what I consider to be one of the greatest women's conferences in the world. And so we're getting everybody. If you look on, you should have gotten an email blast already. If you have not, if you go to the website and look on the website, we are now opened up. Registration is going to be in August and so forth. So we'll talk about that more later. But I want to get an opportunity to bring us up to date as to what I believe the Lord is saying to us in this hour. And I have been on a series. And the reason why I have been on this series, it is because it is very necessary with especially what I've been seeing happening as I travel across the country, and even things that I've even noticed when I even come into this building. This week, the Lord has emphatically begun to talk to me about religion versus relationship. Versus relationship. And church versus spirituality. And so what I notice is that there are a lot of people that go to church, but there are a lot of people that are in church that have no clue of what spirituality is. And so because of that, we think because we have religion, we have God. And so then we have to begin to determine and redefine. Said 2009 is a redefining moment. We have to begin to redefine what is the purpose of religion. What was the purpose of religion? Religion was no different than anything else. It is a form, it is a structure, it is a typology of God. It is man's attempt to bring man closer to God. That's what religion is. It is a man-made attempt to bring man closer to God. But the danger of it is this. It says that when we are dealing nationwide, while you're listening to this, I want you to understand, when we are dealing with religion, one of the greatest dangers of religion is that people who are religious or people who have been raised up in religion or people that operate in leadership in religion and never move on to relationship with the God of the typology of the religion, like the altar, all of that, the altar of incense, the Ark of the Covenant, what it all was supposed to represent was the divine presence of God and the fire coming down and all of that, and you've heard me explain it in the last couple of weeks. Okay, the danger, mother of religion, is that leadership now become the adamant preservers of tradition, which means now they make it their lifelong dream that nothing changes. God, I'm saying something right there. I can stop preaching right there. And so they make it a lifetime attempt that nothing changed. And they want to make sure that the chairs don't change and the choir don't change. And it doesn't matter that that's not what God wants. We don't even care if God don't want the choir to sing right now. But we got a tradition to hold. It doesn't matter if God wants us to worship for 2 hours. My job is to make sure that tradition don't change. My job is to make sure that you believe that the only place you can feel God is in a building. And so what I have to tradition. His sons was in the gateway, in the doorway of the temple, sleeping with women, desecrating the temple. Eli was asleep. He hadn't even heard from God, but he was a priest. He was holding down the position. And so what God had to do, can I paraphrase this? What God had to do is give birth to a new generation. He had to give birth to a Samuel. He had to give birth to a new generation that had the prophetic in them. He had to give birth to a new generation that knew nothing about religion, that knew nothing about tradition. Oh my God. He had to give birth to crackheads and prostitutes and people that wasn't raised up in the church, because those are the ones that the reason why they came to God is because they heard God. They didn't hear him in a church. They were getting high and they heard the voice of God say, I love you. Who am I talking to? And if you've ever really heard the voice of God, then you don't need a church to hear it. I'm not hearing y'all talk back to me. Who am I preaching to tonight? Oh, Jesus. Y'all sit down. I got to... Spirit of the Lord is preaching something in here. And that's why Samuel was a baby. He was a baby. He was a young kid. When he first heard the voice of the Lord in the temple, and he went and said, did you call me, Eli? Eli said, no, I ain't called you. He said, well, I heard a voice call me. So he went on back. He said, no, go back and lay down. Ain't nobody called you. So he come back again and said, let me see if you call me now. He said, I'll tell you what, if you hear, first of all, the voice of the Lord has been shut up in the temple, and ain't nobody heard from God. The nation just having a lot of church, but it ain't a whole lot of people that's heard from God in a long time. And so he said to this little boy, if you hear somebody call you again, then let me tell you something. You have been privileged, because now that's the voice of God calling you. But what he did not know is that the voice that was called established spirituality. And that's why you hear the Bible. That's why you hear the Spirit of the Lord crying out. I don't care how some of y'all look at me. When people look at me dead, I know you religious anyway. That's why you hear the Spirit of the Lord crying out. And his cry in the last season is not to tradition. It's to Zion. That's why you hear God say, awake, O Zion. Put on your strength, because tradition is trying to choke you to death. We have been talking about the brain and how tradition, sets to use your brain. Traditions don't want you to use your brain. Because if you ever use your brain, then you can't be controlled by the system. Then you're not going to tell me to jump up and slap my neighbor and say I'm coming out, because I'm not that stupid. I know that there are principles to me coming out. Then I'm no longer going to be like a crackhead stuck to a person. But I'm going to be stuck to God. And if I don't sense God in the person, I don't want the person, because it's not about the person, it's about God. I'm not getting y'all talk back to me. It's not about the personality, it's about God. And so what God is doing, God is putting the people in a position where now they are starving and they are thirsty. y'all. God is preaching something tonight. That's why the book of 1 Kings says, and I'm so full with this because the danger of today is that I just spent too long with God. I really did. For Tuesday night, I spent long with him like I was getting ready to do a 5-day revival or something. So then I just got to pull myself all together because I'm about to just preach to y'all like this. That's why the book of 1 Kings and the 3rd chapter and the 9th verse says, Solomon was saying, give your servant an understanding mind and a hearing heart to judge your people that I may discern. Give your servant an understanding mind. Get it? What I'm looking for is for you to use my mind, because if you take, watch this, if you take a person's brain out of their head, they can still live. Watch this. If you take a person's brain, they can still live, but God can't use them. Y'all ain't saying nothing. Do you not know that when God starts talking about his movement in the Old Testament, in the book of Deuteronomy, as you read all the way down the scriptures, he keeps saying the mind and the heart,